Good afternoon, Comm 133. In life, we all eventually deal with moments that are difficult for us, and they all come in different points in our lives. It could be having a hard time finding a job right out of college, or maybe it's being let go from a job you've had for 20 years. It could be being rejected by someone we like, or going through a divorce after years of marriage. It could also be the death of a loved one, something that we all experience in our lives. I lost my grandfather a little over a month ago, and it was the first time in my adult life I had ever lost someone I loved. And over the weekend in which my family gathered to mourn his death, all I could think about was how much he loved all of us. Growing up, my grandparents lived 4 hours away, but that didn't ever seem to stop them from coming to see me and my brother. And while they both loved us, my grandfather seemed determined to prove that he was the favorite grandparent. My grandfather loved his grandkids, and the proof was in the stories. My dad would always tell the story of when my brother and I were babies, about how my grandpa would have my brother Michael in one arm and me in the other arm. And he would hold us for about 3 hours, and then my grandma would want to hold us. And as the story goes, after my grandma would have us for about 3 minutes, my grandpa would go to her and say, "Give them here, June, you've had them long enough." Another one of my favorites is how I would always beg my grandpa to take me to this little bar-like place called the Dead End in Cuba City, because I always knew that I would get a Mountain Dew, even if my parents weren't thrilled about it. In the months before his death, he would say about the Packer championship banner hanging in his room, "That's Nick's," meaning that he wanted me to have it after he passed away. Or even about how I missed the bus one day and he came and gave me a ride to school and promised not to tell my parents that I had missed the bus. My grandfather loved his grandkids, and the proof was in his stories. Even though he is gone, I know that he lived his life in happiness. St. Paul wrote in his letter to Timothy, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." My grandfather fought the good fight in caring for everyone that he met. He did finish the race by never giving up on anyone or anything. And through his whole life, he kept his faith, even in the hard times. My grandfather loved his wife, his kids, his grandkids, and everyone that he ran into. He always had a smile on his face and tried to make everyone else smile too. He lived a great life and gave the rest of us some wonderful memories, and gave us the faith and strength to live like he did through the example he led through his life. I want to close with one last story. When I was 6 years old, my mom's mother passed away, and her brother John was going through a rough time in his life, and losing his mother did not help. While I was too young to remember the story, I have been told many times about how after the burial, I got into my uncle's truck, and he was crying uncontrollably. And I looked at him and said, "It's okay, John. Everybody has to go to heaven sometime." And through all of his tears, he gave a huge smile. Just a little over a month ago, I was with my family burying my grandfather. After the burial, everyone was going back to their cars to head to the reception. I saw my Uncle John. He came up to me and gave me a hug and said, "It's okay, Nick. Everybody has to go to heaven sometime." It was in that moment I knew I was going to be okay, and that my grandfather was truly in heaven. Thank you.